Welcome back to the show, the Dan Danger Man Show, starring me, Detective Dan Danger Man. Yeah, I'm actually really proud of myself today for getting this episode out right before Halloween, just like I planned. Heavy drinking, you've betrayed me yet again. Let's put away the sauce for now. I'm gonna... Oh my god! So way back in February, I did a video on Berserk and whether newcomers to this series are better served watching the old anime or the newer trilogy of films. Now to watch that video, you can click the link I've probably posted somewhere on the screen here. I'm not a fucking idiot or drinking. But in that video, I mentioned my hopes for the 2016 Berserk anime. Now that the first season has ended, I feel like it's finally time to talk about it. If you're unfamiliar with Berserk, I highly recommend watching the previous video I did first because it's more about what Berserk is and how you should get into it. In my opinion, it's necessary to at least be familiar with what Berserk's story is before you get into this anime, and if you're completely unfamiliar with it, you might be a little lost. Now this review will be as spoiler-free as I can possibly make it for anything after the Golden Age arc. If you don't want anything spoiled for you, again, I highly recommend watching my other video first. There's another link on the screen, like fucking links everywhere, man. Berserk 2016. Now this anime is a continuation of the Berserk story after the Golden Age arc, which is covered in the original 1997 anime and the Berserk movie trilogy. For the 2016 anime, it's recommended you watch the Berserk movies first so you can understand what's going on better, because the old anime left out a few important details to make it more of a self-contained story. The new anime is rough, especially for the first 3 episodes. From pacing to sound effects, which is one of the most basic things that you really should not get wrong, to the animation and camera movements, there are just so many flaws with these first episodes. Now there are good things with this anime and we will get into that, but first, we gotta talk about the bad. Now the most glaring flaw does not take long to see, and it's the animation. They use 3D cel-shaded animation, which is poor, and that by itself would be bad. But what makes it that much worse is how it's blended between some actually pretty damn good 2D animation. So it makes the 3D animation look a lot worse and jarring. The 3D models also lack the ability to properly convey a wide range of emotion. What is this face saying to you? Fear, sadness, despair, a loss of faith? There could be so many answers, but all I can tell from it is wide eyes. I understand why they use 3D animation, and it was also in the Berserk movies, and outside the first one it worked incredibly well, but they don't have the budget for that quality of animation. To coincide with that, the camera movements are disorienting, with a lot of panning and unnecessary zooms. There are times when these movements are necessary and effective, but the anime does it so often it's just distracting. Like that they just can't hold a shot, which is just frustrating. Now I'm being pretty harsh so far, and I want to say this series gets better as it goes on. They get a lot better handle on how to work with their 3D, and they have a lot more 2D animation, which looks actually really good. But I always felt when I was watching this anime, I was looking out for scenes that were good and pointing those out, when really that should just be what I expect. Besides this, there are some problems with the music. While there are a few songs by Susumu Hirasawa, the composer from the original anime, whose work is just incredible, they use this song Ashes, otherwise known as Hayo, frequently, like multiple times in the same episode. And it's a good song, I actually really like this song, but you have to know how and when to use it. The other music is alright, but I feel like they didn't utilize it right, or that they just shied away from it in favor of just this one song. But to get to the positives, it's Berserk. Guts, the hero of our story, is as compelling as ever, plus we finally get to see characters like Puck the Elf or Aishidoro in an anime, and they both turned out pretty great in my opinion. Sometimes Puck can look a little odd floating around, like his 3D model doesn't quite fit the environment he's around. But as a character I thought he had some great moments, and Aishidoro was spectacular in the anime. He hit all the notes he needed to hit, and was a great comic relief character in a show that needs moments of levity, or else it just becomes a mopey, lifeless gloom fest. To this point, I actually want to point out episode 4 as the first very good episode of the series. I might even say it was great. It builds what is really compelling about Berserk, not its action scenes or gore, but the inner turmoil of Guts, and his struggle in controlling his lust for vengeance against Griffith, who would sacrifice the entirety of the Band of the Hawk, the only real friends Guts had ever known, and raped his lover Casca. Yeah, if I haven't mentioned it before, Berserk can get intense, and it's definitely not for everybody. The series from this episode on begins to feel more and more like Berserk, with really only one bad episode past this point in my opinion. After this, the animation is improved little by little, and the story started to really chug on and take over after the first 3 episodes struggled to get it all started. There were some other things I really wanted to highlight, the first of which is the opening, which I actually really love. It shows off the emotion of the eclipse, the single biggest moment in the entire series, where Griffith turns from an ally to the greatest villain in anime, and Guts from a wandering mercenary to a rage-driven killing machine known as the Black Swordsman. With the art and the way they animate Guts in this opening, you can understand his private primal rage. And this is actually one of my favorite sequences in all Berserk. This sequence from the manga to the anime to the movies, every time they show this sequence, it's always my favorite because of how much it says about Guts. How he hardly hesitates in chopping off his own arm to save Casca from Griffith. How nothing, not even monsters he has no chance of defeating, deter him from his goal. Which is one of the things I love about Guts, period. Now this may seem like a lot of analysis for an opening sequence, but I really do love it. It introduces and sets the tone of Berserk so well, while also giving insight into our main character. A few people may take issue with the music choice, but personally I find it pretty solid. It also brings me back to the topic of characters, and by characters I mean our main character, Guts. Because in my opinion, if there is one thing this anime does really well, it's interpret the character Guts. They capture his strengths and his flaws very well, so that even though he's an impossibly strong killing machine on a path of revenge, you can relate to him because you see his struggles both internal and external. You know why he fights and why he can't and won't give up. The best reason I can give for watching this anime is that the story of Berserk is being told here, and it's a brilliant one. But you'd be better served getting that story from the manga, as it doesn't have distracting sound effects, sloppy 3D animation, and weird framing and zooming choices. Now there has been some news recently that the animation will be improved in the upcoming Blu-ray release, and I'm actually pretty excited to see what they could improve, because that could fix a good chunk of the problems I have with this series in just the way that it's presented. It won't fix everything. They can't fix everything with this. There are too many poor shots and cinematography issues just to fix in a Blu-ray release. But it could go a long way towards improving the anime. Unfortunately though, I can't speak for that, as that's not the product I have right now. Berserk 2016 at times was ugly, messy, and very hard to watch. But as it went on, it improved steadily, and all in all I think it's a pretty good interpretation of the Conviction arc. It is still very flawed, and if this is your gateway to Berserk, I highly implore you to watch the anime or read the manga first. This one's a bit shaky. I feel like I'm being really middle of the road with this, because there's a lot of things I want to criticize, but also I really did have a fun time watching it. And that could all just stem from my bias as a Berserk fan. But in my opinion, at the end of the day, I say Berserk 2016 is worth watching, especially with the promise of a second season on the way. Now from what I've seen, the studios and people involved with Berserk 2016 have heard a lot of the complaints that people have had about the anime, and are trying to improve it. So I sincerely hope the next season will build off what they were doing at the end of the first season and improve it even more. I hope it just builds and builds and grows, because more Berserk is just a good thing for everybody, guys. Thank you all for watching this episode. Now last month I went to Portland Retro Gaming Expo in Portland, Oregon. I even took some video and did some top-notch Dan Dangerman interviews. But tragically the sound was lost in an unavoidable accident. Completely unavoidable. But I thought I'd put up some video just to play us out today. So, roll the thing, or something, whatever.
We've been doing this for so long, and yet it's come to this. We feel you've been treating us wrong. yet you sit there and insist. No, you two are great. Why don't you just wait? Just know this, there is no hate. But let me translate. We wish you the best of luck, but you guys are a bunch of schmucks. Playing with you guys was a real crime. We quit, for real this time.